you can be open to take advantage of the fall holidays. So let me start out by saying, we've been developing dollar stores since 1993, and we are the nation's largest developer of retail stores for independent owners in the country. We've opened over 3,000 dollar stores alone since 1993. We have a program that consists of 7 key services, and it's a 100% turnkey development program. In the 7 services, we provide financing assistance, site location assistance, we negotiate your lease agreement, then we execute the complete setup of the store, and we provide all the labor, the fixtures, the equipment, all the interior signage, and allowance towards the cost of your outdoor sign, and of course all the labor to put it all together. We send one of our setup supervisors out to your store, and they assemble the store for you. Then we provide extensive training. Right now, because of the COVID situation, we do it online and over the phone, and we have a very excellent interactive online training package, which we've been using for years in conjunction with classroom training that we used to do. But right now we go strictly online, very effective, and it's actually more beneficial in some ways than the classroom because you can go back to it anytime you choose. And then, of course, you get to be a member of our merchandise network, and where you can take advantage of pricing that saves you up to 20 to 25% off the price of product versus what you would pay going to the same suppliers and being not part of our network. So it's very significant. If you were to buy, for example, $300,000 in inventory next year, you would save $60,000 to $75,000 just by being part of our network. And once we develop a store for you, become part of that network. And then once you're open, we provide the best long-term support available, just like a franchise, but there are no fees or royalties. We assign somebody to stay with your store on the phone with you every day for the first 120 days, every day, tracking your sales with you by category, helping you buy new merchandise, responding to customers' requests, and doing everything we can to maximize your sales. We track your sales by category with you, and where we see that you're doing an excellent job in one category versus another, we'll help you expand the offerings in that category so that you can maximize the sales in your store. And as you may have seen from our material, our program starts at just $76,900 for a 1,000 square foot store, and that includes everything that I just mentioned, everything from top to bottom. So that's basically what our program is, and I know we'll get into more detail about a lot of those items as we go through it. We have a number of different options for financing if you need that. We even have some lenders that will do credit repair with you if you need to bump your credit up a couple of points. In site location, once you have your funding lined up, we move you into site location, and we find every location in the area that you want your store to be that fits the overall parameters that you've given us in terms of size and geography and so forth. We find every location that fits those. Then we eliminate the ones that we don't feel are viable. Maybe there's a competitor too close or the rent's much too high. Whatever those things might be, we eliminate those, and then we do all the research on the balance. We'll provide you with a full set of demographics, population, household income, where the competitors are, who they are, the co-tenants in your center, and we provide all that to you in a software that we call Easy Track. You'll have immediate and 24-hour access to it. You can see everything about every location that we found, and we ask you for your feedback. We have you go visit those locations, let us know what you like and perhaps what you don't like about them, and then the ones that you feel and we feel are worthy of pursuing, we negotiate on, and we get to the final set of numbers from the landlord: rent, how much free rent, how the landlord's going to deliver the space, and then you can sit down and we help you kind of compare and contrast the finalists, so to speak, the locations that we've negotiated. We always negotiate on several, and we'll help you decide what might be the best option for you, but ultimately it's always your decision. Then once you've approved a location, we finalize the lease, we negotiate it. Each of our leasing managers negotiates over 100 store leases every year, so they're very experienced, and the leasing managers we have here now, I think the The newest one has probably been here about 5 years, and the others much longer. So they know our business. They look out for your best interest. We negotiate over 17 key provisions in every lease. Things like making sure that the space is compliant with the American Disabilities Act so that when you open, you don't have any issues with the city or the county. We make sure there's no likelihood that a competitor can come into the center. We get an exclusive use for you. We negotiate for the landlord to do all the work in the space. We negotiate what's called a dark clause, which means if for some unknown reason the main tenant in the center, like a grocery store, for example, goes dark, closes, you have the ability to step out of your lease with no penalty. Those are all things that we do. Then once your lease is done, we schedule the setup of your store. We send a crew out to the store. They arrive on a Sunday evening. They'll walk the store with you. Our setup supervisor will get a key from you for that space. The truck with the store fixtures and equipment arrives on Monday morning. Our crew is there to unload it. Merchandise starts arriving Monday afternoon, and by Saturday, Friday night or Saturday, you are ready to open. It takes us 1 week once we arrive. It's a very fast process, and we do over 100 stores a year, so we've gotten fairly good at it. Then, of course, you also will be going through your training at that time. As I said, it's online and over the phone, very extensive. We cover all aspects of running your store, how to hire, how to train, how to merchandise your store. We review all the suppliers in the network and set you up with the best ones for your particular area. We write the opening orders with you and then have you approve them so you know exactly what's going to go into your store product-wise. And all those things happen during training. Now, our supplier network, we have over 85 suppliers that are located all around the country to minimize freight costs and make delivery times as short as possible. And as I said earlier, in our network, you're going to save 20 to 25% on product just by being in that network, and that's a very real savings for you. And that is our program in a network, in a nutshell. I'm sorry. Questions about that before we get into the meat of the evening?
I have a question, if I can ask.
Yes.
This is Angela Lindsay. So
yes,
during the so my question is, during the build out, you mentioned that you negotiate things as far as the lease is concerned. Who's responsible for paying the lease while all of that's getting built out?
That's a very good question. When we negotiate a lease, always we negotiate for a certain number of months of free rent, and that is specifically because we know there's going to be some time required. So your lease, number one, doesn't start until the landlord has finished his work and he hands you the key and the space is ready. And then from that point, we negotiate free rent. Sometimes it's 2, 3, 4, sometimes even 5 months of free rent. And then what we do on our side is our operations department is talking to the landlord and the construction people at the location. So we can time it out, and we do this all the time. So we get a pretty good read from the landlord on when he's going to finish the space. And he may say, you know, I'm going to be ready to turn over the keys to Miss Lindsay on August 15th. So we'll time everything out. So we're going to arrive within a couple of days of August 15th to get your store open as quickly as possible and save virtually all of that free rent time for you. So that's how that works. You're going to have free rent for the setup, but we're going to do everything we can to make sure that you can be open for most of that free rent period.
Perfect. Okay.
Makes sense?
Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions?
Yes, I have a question.
Yes, go ahead, sir.
This is Caleb Solomon. I was just wondering, for the locations, are you guys able to do like overseas or out of the country? And if so, how would it work?
Okay, we do stores outside the country every year. The way that works is a little bit different. In those instances, we can't do site location or leasing. However, we can review a lease that someone brings to us. Happy to do that. So in those instances, normally the client that's going to open a store overseas will bring us the location. If he hasn't signed a lease and he wants us to review it, we can do it. And then it becomes a little bit of a custom package because there's things that you may not want or need, and other things that you will need because you have to ship the merchandise and the equipment over, in a boat, in a ship. And we have relationships with shipping companies and freight forwarders. In fact, we're getting ready to do a store in Nigeria now. I think we ship about the second week of August, and it's 3,500 square feet. It's a big store.
Okay.
Yeah, we do that all the time. And if you want to give me a call tomorrow or Monday, my cell number is 702-570-3911, and I think it was on the email also. I can talk to you more specifically about that.
Okay, what was the number? Sorry.
Sure, 702-570-3911. That's my cell. That's the best way.
Okay, thank you.
Your name again?
Yes, go ahead.
Gifford, 2 questions. What's your full?
Go ahead. I'm sorry, I didn't get your question.
What is your full name? Your name?
My name? I'm sorry. It's John, John, LaFronz. It's LaFronz, like zebra.
Okay. Thank you, John.
You're welcome. And I think that probably is in the very bottom of the email that you received about the teleseminar, but always good to get it again.
Okay.
I'd like to ask the question.
My question is this.
Oh, go ahead. Hey, go ahead, young. Go ahead.
Let's say that the fees for the entire upfront fees is 70 or 75,000.
Okay.
So does that include the initial first, last, and security to the landlord, or that is separate?
That is separate. And the reason for that, the reason we can't include it in the package is that the rents vary so much by area, so there's no way we could include it. And just so you know what we do, if you do decide to go forward and send in an application, the first thing that we do in finance is we determine, if you need funding, what lenders will work best for you. We put you in contact with them and you walk through that process. And then before we even start in real estate, we do a worksheet that shows you the funds that you're going to want to have on hand over and above the package price. And we estimate, because that's a very good question, we estimate what the first month's rent security deposit might be, the cost of getting a business license, and there's some other minor things that are not in the package because they vary by area. But we'll estimate that so you know exactly what your project cost is going to be, and we estimate high. And typically, almost always, it ends up being less than what we estimate. But, yeah, we want you to have a very clear picture of what would be involved before you even start. It's the first thing that we do.
Okay, I have a question.
Yes.
My name is Vicki Holden from California. And
Holder? I'm sorry?
Yes.
Okay. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
And I have a store within my area. It's kind of more like a suburban, maybe rural area because I'm on line of Altadena and Pasadena. So the area that I live in has very, very few amenities, such as if I was leaving my house, I'd have to drive 6 miles to park.
Wow.
So there's no 99-cent store in the area. I do know that there is a store in my area that has completely closed down. I don't know why, but it's pretty much vacant. How would that work if I was looking to utilize that space?
Well, you certainly can. What was in there before? What business was it?
It was a grocery store. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, they had several violations, and eventually they ended up closing the store down.
I see. Yeah, no, we would look at every space, certainly including that one, because it's already set up for retail. If it was a market or a grocery before. So, no, absolutely, we would look at that.
Okay. And then if we're looking at space, I'm just saying, how would that work as far as I know that some of the 99-cent stores I've been in do have refrigerating units for cold foods or, bologna, sandwiches, whatever.
Sure.
Is that something that can also be incorporated?
It's something that you can incorporate. It's not within our package, and the reason for that is those commodities like dairy and lunch meats and so forth, they're always provided by local providers. There's not a national company that does that. But what we do often is a lot of our store owners will want to put in a cooler, certainly for some cold drinks, and then usually Coke and Pepsi will provide coolers at no charge as long as you buy the product from them for those coolers. And then I always encourage store owners to do what you just said, pick up a 2-door cooler. I can always help you source both new and used ones, and there's lots of good used ones out there, because if you want to ultimately participate in the EBT program, the food stamps,
correct,
which is a very nice addition, you do have to carry a few dairy products. You have to carry a few meat items, and usually lunch meats will satisfy that, and then a couple of bread items, and we help you find those local sources for that. And you have to be open before you can apply to be a participant in that EBT program. However, we review all of that in training, the process. You have all the forms and everything, and we can help you set that up as well once you're open.
Perfect. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Next
All right,
question.
John. This is Kenneth out of Indianapolis. I do have a question.
Yes, sir.
Now, we just went through the pandemic, of course, and I know how it affected a lot of business. So let's say that we do start off the loan with you guys, and we experience something similar to this pandemic where it shuts us all the way down. How does that affect us? Is there a plan in place, a safety net for us to that would protect us from, having to go bankrupt or going into debt, as far as that goes?
Well, let me figure out how best to answer that. The first thing I will say that is, I can't speak specifically to Indiana, but I know in virtually every state, the dollar stores were considered essential businesses, so they didn't have to close because they sell packaged food, they sell health and beauty aids. Some of the stores, as I said, have coolers and so forth. So none of our stores that I'm aware of anywhere in the country had to close, which is great. And then as bad as things got, for a lot of businesses, it didn't affect us at all. In fact, the reverse was true. We had product that people needed, and often product that the grocery stores were in and out of, and I'm sure you experienced the same thing I did here. Paper products were hard to get, cleaners and things like that, very hard to get. Our stores had that merchandise and inventory. So it was actually kind of an advantage for us. And there's an article that came out about 3 weeks ago. Dollar General reported for the last full quarter that their sales were up 22% over the same period last year, and that was for the period ending April 1st. So
I'm sorry,
right.
I can barely hear you because somebody's baby's in the background. So if they could mute their line, that'd be great.
Thank you. Yes, and please do that if you would, unless you're speaking, of course, and then you can unmute. Is in terms of the lenders, they're third party. We don't control them, so I don't know that there would be any loan forgiveness. If you did have to close, but the good answer is that it's very unlikely that you would ever have to.
Okay, I just didn't know because the next pandemic might be war, so I don't know how that's gonna. I just wanted to know if there's some kind of safety net. That's all. To put into place because. I mean, we were fortunate this time that, none of the stores did have to actually all the way close down, but we don't know what's coming next. So I'm just trying to, make sure that I do have some kind of protection into place in case,
the only thing I would say is that our business, I think no matter what would happen, our business is just necessary. A TJ Maxx can close, clothing is nice, but it's not essential. The products that we sell are always going to be essential. So no matter what happens, I've been at this for like almost 40 years now, and I've not seen a bump in the road so far. So I just kind of dated myself there. So you got me. But as far as the lenders, like I said, I can't speak to them. I don't know that there would be any kind of a suspension of payments or anything like that. I'm going to say probably not, but I don't want to speak for them. But the good news is that our business is pretty resilient.
Yeah, I can pretty much vouch for that because in California, none of the 99-cent stores or dollar stores, Dollar General included, have closed. They've all been open.
And they actually did better business.
Yeah, they did, tremendously better than the grocery store.
Yeah. I know I have an independent dollar store not too far from my home that we opened years ago. And but I couldn't get stuff at my local grocery. I'd swing by there, and 9 times out of 10 I could find what I was looking for. So, yeah, and what happened, here's the best part. If you can have a best part with this thing that we've all gone through, which is horrible, but the light is that our stores, dollar stores in general, got new customers. The same thing, it's funny, the same thing happened back in 2008 when we had that economic downturn. A lot of people that had never shopped at dollar stores had to for economic reasons. But when the economy got better, every study showed that they stayed as dollar store customers because they liked what they saw. They got good value, the product was good quality. So there was a whole new crop of dollar store customers that came out of that bad situation. And the same thing I guarantee is going to happen now. People have been in the stores. They liked the product that they found. If they had a bad perception that dollar stores didn't have good quality merchandise, they saw that wasn't the case, and they're shopping. I see people in my dollar store, like I said, near my home, that I go in there 2-3 times a week, and I've seen people that I've never seen in there before. And I've seen BMWs and Mercedes, and it's amazing to me. 99 only, just as a side note, 99 only for the people that live in the parts of the country where they exist. They're a pretty good operation. Their #1 store is on Rodeo Drive in Beverly Hills.
Actually, John, I have an additional question, if you don't mind answering that really quickly, if someone has asked a question. As far as financing, what basically, I know you said that you work with several lenders that are willing to work with us to get this started. Are they looking for, what exactly are they looking for? I know a lot of us probably have 401k. I don't. As far as, funding goes, what are they particularly looking for?
Okay. They all have different parameters, and some of them are driven by your FICO score. They typically look for something in the mid 600s, maybe 630, 650. As I mentioned earlier, if you're a couple of points below that, a lot of times they can help you bump that score up a little bit. Some lenders look also at income. Some lenders don't look at income at all. And so there's a number of different types of programs that are available based on the profile that a borrower brings to the table. So the overriding thing that I always say is never think that you can't get financing, because you'd be amazed at what I've seen happen over the years with people came in and said, I just can't do this. I know I can't get a loan. I can't. And 3 months later, they're operating their store. So you never know. They're pretty cool.
So it's a combination. So you have a combination of hard and soft money loans, correct?
That is correct.
Based on your credit score. So even right now, you're still able to provide these loans during this time?
Yes. In fact, it's interesting. A number of the lenders that we speak with are more aggressive now. Interest rates.
So what rates are we looking at potentially?
That's whatever answer I give you is going to be wrong. That's going to be outside my area of expertise. And again, because it's driven by somebody's individual profile to a degree. But if you want, you can. If you're working with somebody on our office, I'd suggest call them tomorrow, and they can probably run you through finance to maybe get some broad answers for you. We're happy to do that.
Right, because again, the rate would make sense if you're not generating that kind of money, right? Ultimately.
Sure.
So it'd have to, be, a feasible rate. Otherwise, it's not a win-win. Let's say if you're at 24%, that's crazy. You're paying back most of your profits to the loan.
Yeah,
so
no,
I think
you
it
don't
needs
want
to
to be
be
there.
clear, like ahead of time, like what kind of loan will you qualify? Is it a hard money? Considering those hard money loans are easier to get, but at the end of the day, they're charging a higher rate. So,
Yeah,
so you guys can pretty much guarantee. So we're only looking at $7,900 to start a full operation, and that's with an existing building. And you guys will take care of, let's say, the visibility study, kind of start to finish. I mean, are you guys also negotiating the rent?
Yes, we do all of that. Yeah, I'm guessing you may have missed the first part of the call, but yeah, we do all of that.
Yeah, I apologize.
And no, that's fine.
I came on a little late.
No worries. Our packages start at $76,900, and then on top of that, you do need some working capital for your rent and security deposit. So normally I estimate about another $15,000 or so that you will have. You don't pay it to us, but that you'll want to have on hand for those other expenses, utility deposits, your business license, things of that nature. So really, to move forward, you'd need to have available to you about 90,000, of which
All right, so
76,900 would be the package. Yes.
These guys, so you got lenders that are willing to give an unsecured loan for $90K.
Yes.
Interesting. All right.
So, yeah. If you do decide you want to take a harder look at it, as I say, just give your rep a call tomorrow, and they can get that on the road for you. And we'll know typically within 48 hours what you qualify for and what the terms would be.
Do you guys guarantee items? So again, you're talking about that you're the only place that had stocked items. Are you guaranteeing items at all times that I don't have empty shelving? And if so, how are we compensated?
Okay, well, I mean, we're at the mercy of the suppliers because you're dealing directly with them. We don't buy or sell merchandise. It's not our business, but you'd be dealing with the suppliers within our network, and typically their in-stocks are pretty good, but certainly there's no guarantee because to a degree they're beholden to the manufacturers. So I can say over time the track record of our suppliers has been pretty good within stocks, but there's certainly no guarantee.
Give us a percentage. So that what does good stand for? Give me a
Fill
1
rates.
out of 100.
Okay. Fill rates typically run about 95% when you place an order. So you're always going to get,
and then what's that turnaround time? What's the turnaround time? So let's say I place an order for paper towels today. It gets to you, et cetera, shipped out to me. I mean, and I'm thinking you have like places all around the United States, or you're shipping from one location?
No,
right.
all over, depending on where you are. So typically about 5 to 7 days turnaround, depending on where you are. That's pretty standard.
So if you're not able, let's say, to provide a certain product, and so how do we fulfill that? Let's say if you're not able to pay paper towel, but Tom, Dick, and Harry has the ability locally to provide that to me. Do we have that? Can we go outside of you to fulfill those needs?
Yes, absolutely you can. You're under no obligation. We're not a franchise. So you're under no obligation to buy from any of our suppliers once you're open, certainly. I know that typically you will because the pricing is going to be most favorable, but you're not obligated. If you find a local vendor that has product that you like, or you can make a better deal on a load or something like that, no, absolutely. It's your store.
Got it.
No restrictions at all.
So everything, so you have a list of products, obviously. Is liquor included in that, licensing, that whole aspect? Or no Dollar Street, none of those kind, or do we have the ability to do that as a, let's say, a vertical, lateral?
Yes, you can, and if that's something that you want to pursue when you get into real estate, we just have to make sure we negotiate for that within your use clause. If you want to sell beer and wine or spirits or tobacco, lottery, whatever those things might be. We just need to know as we're negotiating the lease that you want to do that, if not even immediately, that you want to have the ability to do that somewhere down the road. We'll negotiate for that use for you.
And then, so then let's say you'll discuss with aldermen, et cetera, people within the community, whether or not. So are you kind of guaranteeing that, or are you going to be able to, let's say, finesse these guys? So let's say if I'm not in a desirable neighborhood that, let's say, wants this type of, let's say, liquor, you're able to pull additional strings for that to happen? Is that what you're telling me?
No, that's outside of our scope of work, certainly. You know, we can't meet city council, do things like that, but we can find out if it's doable.
Got it.
Okay.
Got it.
Where are you from? I have to ask. Where do you live?
I'm out of Wisconsin, Jonathan Culver. Yeah.
Okay, because I grew up in North Jersey, and there were always strings that could be pulled, and I was trying to place your accent. I'm sorry. Go ahead, next question.
Hey, my name is Eric Amedome, calling from Dallas, Georgia.
Yes, how are you?
Okay, yeah, I'm good. My question is about the financial part. I heard you talking about this is going to be based on your credit score. Okay,
yes,
so how about somebody who is already in business? Can I use my business ID instead of my my Social Security?
I believe that the lenders that we typically work with will lend to an individual, but not to a business. However, if you have a relationship with your bank and you can maybe pursue a more standard business loan, we can give you all the supporting documents that you need: a business plan, estimates, revenue, expense, and so on. So we can help you with that. Sometimes people will want to pursue an SBA loan, which is wonderful, but they're very hard to get. But again, if you want to go that route, we can again provide all the support documents that you need to submit with your application, and we do that all the time.
Okay. One more question to finish this. Part. Well, when you're talking about 100% financing, well, what would be the average rate of interest?
Yeah, I think I answered that earlier, but no, and that's okay. That's okay. There's a lot of ground to cover. It's very hard to answer that because it's so driven by your individual credit profile. Your debt to income equity or ratio rather. How deep is your credit? How long have you had it? The credit score itself. It's very hard. Whatever rate I give you or whatever range of rates I give you is going to be wrong for you, and I know that. So the best thing to do is if you get into the process, they'll have that answer for you within 48 hours. Our finance department will, as to what you qualify for and what the terms and interest rates and so forth will be, and then you can make that decision to go forward or not.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Next question. You're very welcome. Thank you.
I do have another question, John.
Yeah.
Just out of the blue. Okay, so let's say I want to get involved in this, and I did hear you mention $90,000. How does a person come up with $90,000? Okay, there's financing available. So let's say I don't have, and this is just hypothetical, I don't have the score enough for financing. Can I also bring in a co-signer with that?
Yes, absolutely. You can bring in a partner, so to speak, a financial partner, and that happens very often. Sometimes it's a friend or an associate. We've had family members, parents or a brother or sister. Not uncommon at all. Sometimes we'll have both spouses each do an application, and between them they secure enough funds to go forward. So, yeah, there's no shortage of ways to go at that, certainly.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Other questions?
All right, John, this is Kenneth out of Indianapolis again. I do have another question.
Yeah.
This is along the lines of insurance. Is there insurance packages included with your package?
No, because and the reason we can't do that, it's kind of like the security deposits. Every landlord in different parts of the country have different requirements in their leases for the insurance, the amount of coverage that you have to have and the type of coverage. So it'd be hard to include it, but we can help you shop it. And most often what people do, quite honestly, is they go to the insurance agent that handles their personal insurance, their auto and their home or whatever, and they can often quote commercial insurance. And if they can't, they always seem to have a relationship with somebody in that same business that does commercial insurance. So those are the best referrals. You know, sometimes even the landlords will give us a resource. They say, gee, a lot of our tenants use X company because their rates are very good. So we can always assist you in finding that resource.
Right, because some of those are pretty expensive when you go through your auto.
Yeah, so you want to get somebody that's schooled in just commercial. That's where, they're the most expert. They're going to get you the best rates. They're going to shop it around. So.
All right. Do you guys have any affiliates you deal with a lot?
No, for insurance, it's interesting. I've tried to do that a number of times over the years, but there are state laws that limit where insurance agents can write. So I've never been able to really put that together. I've tried a number of times over the years because I thought it'd be so easy to have a one-stop shop with an agent that could write insurance all over the country. But what you have to do, say you're dealing with State Farm as one example.
Right.
A State Farm agent here couldn't write an insurance policy for you in Indiana. He'd have to get a hold of somebody in Indiana with State Farm, and it's almost easier just to go direct to the source.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Again, we can help you with that when we get to that point. Okay, other questions?
One additional question, just really quick. I know I did visit a 99-cent store. Within that 99-cent store, they also had a check cashing station where people could come and obviously cash their checks and, get delivered money and things like that. Is that something that's possible, or is that just kind of not the norm?
It's certainly outside the norm, and it's even with Vericheck and companies like that, it's kind of a risky business. If you wanted to get into something like that, I'd almost rather see you do an ATM machine or something like that where people can get cash that way. Yeah, I think that's probably a business you don't want to get into. I will say, though, that kind of opens up an interesting topic because we have a lot of services that you can add to your store, and they're pretty reasonable, and they create traffic. And I'll give you a couple of quick examples. For example, you can put in a bank of mailboxes and rent post office boxes, so to speak. It costs a few $1,000s to set it up, but what's great about it is that a lot of people want that security. They don't want mail coming to their home if they're not home during the day. They want it to go to a box where it's safe and secure. The beauty for you is that it works two ways. You get $15 or $20 a month rental, sometimes more, for each box, and you get that customer coming into your store every day or every other day. So you have an opportunity, because they have to pick up their mail. So you have an opportunity to sell them product every time they come in. They're kind of married to you. So that's a nice add-on program. We also do key duplication. We do faxing. We have a really nice program that does, you can do custom printing in your store, banners and gift wrap and things like this. You can actually print a custom banner. The customer can design it themselves in full color at a little kiosk at your phone at your store near the counter. It'll take them 15 minutes to design the banner, and they'll have it in 20. And it's competitive price-wise with all these shops, these print stores and so forth that do banners. You can do indoor banners. You can do outdoor banners. Notary services is another easy thing to add to your store. It's very inexpensive, and if you had to get something notarized anytime recently, you probably know how hard it is to find somebody that'll do that for you.
Yeah, because I am a notary too, so I'm glad you mentioned that.
Yeah, it's a nice add-on. I had to get some documents notarized today. Actually, my wife and I had to meet her at lunchtime, and we went to our bank. They said, "Oh no, we don't do that anymore." And then we had to find like a mailbox type store. Unfortunately, the first one I went to, the notary was out to lunch, and the second one I finally found somebody. So yeah, and we have other programs as well. Like I say, key duplication. There's so many things that you can add to your store that cost very little money. And the key is they create extra revenue and they create extra traffic. We have one of our mailbox stores that does over $1,000 a week on a bad week just in printing.
Right.
So.
And I say this because I know that I talk to a lot of people who say, I can't find an interview, or I can't find this, or I can't, I want to get this banner done, but I have to go over here, and it's, really expensive. I can do stuff from home. But at the end of the day, it's not like I have a shop.
Yeah.
So
people to be able to find you
here and there.
And the thing with these stores is you're an independent owner. You can add anything you want to your store. You may find other sources of revenue that either you think of, or sometimes your customer will say, well, hey, Susie, why don't you do this? And a light bulb goes on. Yeah, I could do that. So yeah, there's no shortage of things that you can do, and you're only limited by your imagination because you're not limited by us in any way at all. So.
Right. So you can do add-ons.
Yeah, exactly.
I just want to imply is that, okay, so once this is all said and done, you guys are responsible for all the setup, all the equipment, all the whatever. We go through the merchandising process. What do you think you need? Blah, blah, blah. You set it up. Okay, so circulars and openings, grand day openings. Because I really want to do this. Monday, of course, I'm going to have my greeters in the front. And is it logical to think that I would have, because I know people sometimes are all over the place, is it logical to think we should have like walkie-talkies so we can talk to one another, express this, that, and the other? Is that something that I would need to purchase, or is that something that your company can provide as well?
Yeah, no, that's something you'd have to buy, and you certainly can if you choose to do that. As I say, there's no limits on what you can do.
Right.
Other questions?
Yeah, hello.
Yes.
This is hello.
Yes, go ahead.
Yeah, it's Lucy from Buffalo, New York.
Okay.
And what happens to the people who don't have a business background like that, but who have tried to open a new background? You guys.
Well, you are the person that we welcome with open arms, because our training is so extensive that you don't need to have any business experience. When you're done with training, you're going to be fully ready to open your store and operate it. And keep in mind, we don't go away. For that first 4 months, our trainer is going to be on the phone with you virtually every day, helping you write orders, reviewing operational questions you might have, doing everything we need to keep you on track with your business. And then that person also helps you get ready for every season as it comes up. So we make sure that you've ordered your Christmas merchandise well in advance, and we help you schedule the day it should arrive in your store and when it should be out on display. And we do that for every season. In fact, we set up a calendar with you. Before your store opens, it says you should order Easter on this day. It should be in your store on this day. It should be out on the shelf on this day, and so on. And we do that for every major holiday and season. And then after that first 4 months, if we feel and you feel that, you've got your arms around the store and things are going as they should, then we take your store and we move it to a long-term coordinator's desk. And that person continues to provide that same support for you for as long as you're in business. She may reach out to you once or twice a week, but she's always available to you. And you'll get that support for as long as you want it. We just don't go away. And in addition to all that, you're going to get merchandise updates, supplier updates every single week via email, and then your person here in the office is going to be reviewing those things with you, talking about the categories that do best for you, making sure that you see all the new items that are available in those different categories for you. Because one thing about our business, one thing about the dollar store business is you never want your store to get stale. And what I mean by that is that there's about 30% of the items that you carry in your store that you're always going to want to rebuy. And it's the same merchandise that you buy when you go shopping. It's the consumables, the paper plates, paper towels, shampoo and conditioner, all that. But all the other merchandise in your store should always be changing. And I'll give you a quick example. If I go to your store and I have a shopping list of 7 or 8 items, so I get in there, grab my cart, and I pick up my paper towels, and I pick up my shampoo and conditioner, and maybe some bar soap. And if you could see me, you know I pick up some cookies too, because I got to have them. But so now I've satisfied my needs. That's my shopping list. So then I start to look around the store, and maybe I see a nice table runner, which would look great on my entryway table. So I grab it. Pick up a man-made chamois cloth to wash my car on the weekends, and a couple of toys for the grandkids. So now that $7 or $8 sale that I intended to give to you when I came into your store, it's now $15 or $16 because now I'm buying items that I didn't know I needed, but the value is so good that I picked them up and I put them in my cart. But when I come back next week, I need those consumable items because they got used up. I need the paper products. I need the shampoo, the cookies for sure. But the table runners I still have, didn't get used up. But if you show me something new in home decor, well, I'm a customer for that. Maybe I grab some placemats or whatever. And something new in auto care because I still have the chamois. Whoever has that noise in the background, could you mute, please? Thank you. So that's why the new goods are so important to the building the transactions and the profit in your business.
Right.
That's why you get new information every week from our office.
Mm-hmm. So do I need we need a certain amount of money to start it, or how this works?
We do it all with you and for you. That's what we do. I'll be honest with you. Whoever's playing the banjo in the background, can you mute your phone, please?
Yeah.
I feel like I'm on the set of Deliverance. I'm a little worried.
Okay.
Go ahead.
John, let me ask you a question really quickly. So
yes,
what happens when we receive damaged items or items that we feel that, this is not sellable?
Okay.
We can either do a 50% off or whatever off. Is that a sellable attitude, or is it something that we should just okay, we need to ship this back to whomever shipped it to us?
Okay, so that's a couple of different questions. If something comes in damaged, it's a freight claim against the freight company.
Right.
We teach you how to do that in training. If it's an item that's substandard, doesn't do what it's supposed to do, then that goes back to the supplier.
Okay.
But as far as items if an item's a slow seller.
Because I used to work for a freight company as well. So, trying to make sure that, the items we were receiving were, not substandard, but, to whatever the supplier was asking for. If it was not, then we shipped half of that product, and then we tell them to go back and, so they can get the other part of that product. I got it. So my question now, and I'm going to leave this because I know everybody else has questions. So now, with thinking that this is a $90,000 situation, so basically we're going to be looking for finance. I don't have $90,000, honestly.
Most people don't. I know I don't.
But I would really like to get this started. I think it's an innovative idea. I think everybody shops at a dollar store. I love the dollar store. There's always things when I go in there that I see oh, I didn't see that. Oh, I didn't see this, So, I think it's a situation where people can defeat the drama of COVID, and then they can kind of work within their means.
Well, why don't you give me your first and last name, and I can reach out to you in the morning or get you some more information.
Sure, that'd be great.
Okay.
Now, we see a booklet regarding all the amenities and things we can do or can't do or whatever.
And I can email it to you, but I need your first and last name and your email, and I can do that.
Sure, not a problem.
Go ahead.
I'm sorry, I just want to jump in here real quick, and then I'm done for the day.
Okay.
My name is Marie George. I'm from California. So I've been thinking about this for 20 minutes. I really want to ask it. So So when we factor in the finances, do we also factor in, or the loans? Are we factoring in employees? Are we factoring in the permits that we have to get? Because for myself, I know that I have other stuff going on in my life. So is this something that most people just like jump into as an individual, or like as like maybe a couple and they just work the store, or do we factor in the fact that maybe people
most often?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that's a couple of questions. First, in the estimate that we put together in the example we were talking about earlier, the $90,000, that does account for those basic startup costs, business licenses, first and last month's rent, and so forth. It also sets aside an amount of money for working capital, so you have money to pay wages in the first couple of weeks until the store gets off the ground. Now, as far as staffing the store, it can vary. We have some owners that this becomes their employment, so to speak, and they work the store full time, or one spouse does, or the other, and then they hire some part-time help. It doesn't take a lot of work hours to run one of these stores. And if you neither spouse or the individual that's going to do the store doesn't really want to devote a lot of time to the store initially, but they want to start to build the asset, to build the business, so to speak. I've known any number of people that will just put some employees in the store. Obviously they take a little shorter return in the short term, but it allows them to keep their other business or their employment going as the store establishes itself, and then they determine if they want to get more personally involved or continue to have it work, because they can work either way. If you have to pay some extra salary because you can't be there, obviously that's going to take away a little bit of your net, but sometimes that's a good thing because you can do other things as well, as you say.
Yeah, bring in income. Okay, so that's very, very important to me.
Okay. One thing before anybody checks out, I would say very quickly, keep in mind, if you do decide to go forward with this and you start before next Wednesday with your application, there's a $3,000 credit that we can apply when you open your store. The other thing that I wanted to touch on very briefly, and I know we've been on the phone for quite a while now, one of the key things to remember if you're thinking about getting involved in this business, there's really not a better time than right now for a couple of reasons. Number one, unfortunately, because of the COVID situation, some businesses that were maybe marginal have closed. What that does for you is it opens up many more retail spaces where you can locate your business, which is great. Number two, because that happened, the landlords are highly motivated. Over the last few months, I'm very involved with the real estate process here at our company, and I've seen rental rates, free rent periods, landlords bending over backwards to prepare spaces like I have never seen before. I've been here 20 years with Dollar Store Services, and I've never seen landlords giving what they give right now because they want good tenants. They need tenants. And we can get your store open if all the stars align. You come on board, we get your financing. Typically, that can happen in a week. We get you right into site location and leasing, and we fast track everything. We can get your store open in 30 to 40 days, and you can be open to take full advantage of Halloween, Thanksgiving, Christmas, New Year's, and that's what in retail is referred to as the golden quarter, the last 3 months of the year. Business triples what it is any other time of the year, so it's like a golden opportunity to get your store open right now. So if you're thinking about it, it's a great time to get your toe in the water, see what the financing can look like for you, and then we'll get to work.
Okay, so I have another question. Really quick.
Yes.
So you're saying 30 to 40 days. So what is a down payment? And is that down payment refundable? Or is that just, I give you $500 or whatever, and you start whatever. Do I get that back?
You get it back one way or the other. You never lose it. If you do your application and you put that deposit in place, and you can't get financing, then that $500 goes right back to you. It takes a couple of days.
Okay.
If you do get financing and then you do decide to go forward, that $500 gets applied to the purchase price of your store.
Okay.
So you never lose it.
That's reasonable. Okay.
Yeah.
Got it.
So
thank you.
You bet. And if anybody wants to try and jumpstart this tomorrow, get a hold of your sales rep. My email is john.lafronz@drssmail.com. You can always reach me as well. That's JOHN.
Okay, sounds great.
Please, can I ask one last question if you don't mind, please?
Okay, you can ask 2 questions if you want.
Okay.
I won't charge you any extra. You go right ahead. Go ahead.
Thank you. Here in America, most of the product which is imported from China, especially those perishable items. So currently, America maybe has some problem with China. They may or they may not import some goods, So how is this thing is going to deal with? Like many products are imported from China right now. So how these things is work out?
Good question. And that's kind of 2 questions, but let me answer the first one first. Yeah, there is a portion of product that comes from China, from our suppliers for our stores, maybe 25%, maybe 30% of the products come out of China. But over the last few years, what our suppliers have been doing is moving more and more production to other countries, like Turkey, like Israel, like Vietnam, Greece. So fewer and fewer products, certainly a much lower percentage of product comes out of China, number 1. Number 2, through all this back and forth over the last year or more actually between the U.S. and China and the tariffs that China's putting on us, that we're putting on China, our product has not really been affected at all, because what they did is they zeroed in on the heavy product, the machinery, automobiles, electronics, things of that nature. They really don't care too much about potato peelers and spatulas. So we've had no issues in terms of excess tariffs or duty on product coming in from China. It's been extremely minimal. And certainly we always watch that. We're concerned about it. But what I know is over the years, and like I say, I've been at this for like 40 years now. I used to do a lot of overseas buying in a previous life. I traveled to China, Hong Kong, Taiwan, the Philippines, several times a year, working with the manufacturers over there. And what I learned is that the supply chain for our business, for the dollar and the discount business, is so important, the revenue stream to those manufacturers overseas, that they find a way to make it work. And it was kind of interesting. A couple of products that were affected by the tariffs early this year, the manufacturers actually lowered the price of the item so that the tariffs could be absorbed, so the suppliers here would continue to buy the product, because they had to have people buy their product. And then other things have happened too. Over the years, petroleum got expensive, so plastic uses a lot of petroleum in the manufacture, so the cost of plastic went up, so those plastic items were going to go up. So the manufacturers overseas used more steel, aluminum, more wood, less plastic to keep the price where it needed to be. Steel at one point jumped up, so metal got high. So what did they do? Less metal, more plastic, because they have to have that product at a price where people can buy it. Because if they can't supply dollars for a product. And that's a question people have asked me many times over the years. Say, what happens if you can't buy products for $1? Well, like I said, I've been doing this for 40 years, and I've been answering that question for 38 of them. And and the manufacturers are so creative, they find a way to make it work.
All right. Thank you. And there is another question on top of that.
Yes, sir.
Do you guys, I really don't know. I've never run a business here in America. So do you guys have any restriction for something, like, for example, if I want to sell rather than your product, like if I get it from somewhere else and then run selling it? So do you have any restriction selling in dollar store?
None. The only restrictions that you would ever have is in your lease from the landlord. you can, as far as we're concerned, you can buy product from whomever you choose, and you can buy whatever type of product you choose. No restrictions. We're not a franchise, so we don't handcuff you like a franchise would. You can do whatever you choose. And as I mentioned earlier, you might have missed it, but if you decide to go forward and you get into real estate and we're starting to look at locations, if you say, well, gee, John, I want to sell tobacco in my store, or I want to sell beer and wine, or I want to sell lottery tickets, we just need to know that, so we negotiate your lease. We make sure that we can get that in the use clause for you. So you'll always have that ability, even if you don't want to start tomorrow selling tobacco. If you decide in 3 months, yeah, I want to go forward with that, you have the ability to do so. It's in your lease.
Yeah. Where I live there is a very harsh weather sometimes. Winter is coming. So as I see, some schools closed and roads closed. It doesn't affect the business, that things?
No, because it's the same for. Where do you live?
I'm living next to Canada, Buffalo, New York.
Oh, okay. I know Buffalo very well. No, it doesn't really affect the business because people still have to shop. I lived for years, I lived up in New York and New Jersey, but for 5 years of my life, I lived in Montana, which is colder than where you are. And people still get out. I mean, it's what they do. They're accustomed to the snow. They're accustomed to the cold. Just like here, it was 110 today. But people go out because they have to go out.
Thank you so much for your time.
No worries.
John?
Thank you. Yes, sir.
Yes, I have a couple of questions. In the area where we are in California, it's a 250,000 people population, and already they have 6 of these big players, dollar store like 99 cents or dollar trees and so forth. What's your requirement based on the population or the radius? Do you have anything like, okay, for 200,000, 6 is enough, or whatever it is?
Okay, it's a good question. And what we do when we get into real estate, we start looking at locations. I mean, there's some competition pretty much everywhere. There's not too many virgin areas left, though there are some, and that's wonderful. What we look for is submarkets where one of the big guys can't go, but because there's not enough rooftops to support them, but where there's enough population to support a store like ours. And in terms of what that population number is, it's going to vary quite a bit by area. But we look at what we do is, say you're in, and I don't know where do you live?
California.
Okay, where though in California?
Southern California.
Okay, so say you're in Anaheim.
Sure.
And so what we do, the first thing we do is we know that you want to be in Anaheim, or maybe you're willing to look at locations in Fullerton, just as a couple of examples. So what we'll do is we'll do a map first. The very first thing we do when you come into real estate, we map those areas, we map all the competitors, so we can see who they are and where they are. And then we start to look for pockets and submarkets where, as I say, they can't develop a store because they either have too many scattered around there, or the population is not enough, it's not sufficient to support yet another store for them. But it can easily support a store like ours. So we look at those pockets first, and we find the locations that are available within those pockets, and then we look at the population at 1, 3, and 5 miles. So we can see, okay, that if there's a store that's 5 miles away or 3 miles away, we know that for a mile or 2 at minimum, you're the closest option before somebody has to go someplace else. So that's one big factor. And then we look at the household income, because that's an important marker of what type of customers live in that area that are potential customers for you. And then the last thing that we do is we look at the co-tenants in the center, because if there's a Dollar Tree a mile and a half down the road and it's freestanding and you're next to a Ralph's in your center, I know that people have to go to Ralph's 2.5 to 3 times a week to shop. So if they're at Ralph's and they're in that parking lot and your store's sitting right there, why would they get back in their car and drive to another dollar store when they already are in front of yours? You know, unless you're a bad operator and you give somebody a good reason not to come to your store, they're going to go there because it's easy. You know, the dollar store, I drive by 2 Dollar Trees on the way home, and I stop at that independent dollar store that I mentioned earlier because it's next to the grocery store that I shop at. And I know that store is going to have what I want, and the price is the same, and I can get in and out of my car one time. And that's kind of how we evaluate locations. And when you get into the process, you'll kind of see that. There's a lot more involved, certainly, but that's kind of the broad strokes, how we evaluate, you know, can this store be viable? And then what we do is at the end of the real estate process and before you sign the lease, you know, if there's still a question, I can sit down with you and we can kind of do a worksheet of revenue, anticipated revenue based on all that we know about the location and anticipated expenses, because now we know what the rental rate's going to be. We know a lot of things that we didn't know at the beginning of the process. And we can kind of sit down and see what that space might deliver for you and see if, again, it makes sense at the end of the day for you to go forward with that space.
Sure. Now, John, one more question. I know if I ask you what these stores are making, you say, well, I don't know, and you need to speak with them. But on the average, on the margin, what percentage are they making from their merchandise? Is it 30%, 40%, higher, lower, on the average? Do you have any idea?
Yeah, that I can easily answer. The dollar-only stores that we do where everything sells for $1, the average cost of goods is 54 to 55 cents if you stay in the system. So your gross margin is going to be about 45% on product. That's before your expenses.
Now, are they selling them all for $1? Because I have been into a dollar-only stores, and they have many merchandises for 79 cents or 50 cents, things like that. But still, you're thinking of 45% margin.
Yes, and when we set up a dollar-only store, it is a dollar-only store. We don't put any extra product in it. Now, if you come back and you say, John, you know, I'd like to do a $1+ store to make my store a little bit different from some of the competitors, and we also keep in mind we do a 1, 2, 3 store, which is totally unique, and we do a lot of those in areas where there is some competition, and you want to be different. So in a 1, 2, 3 store, about half the product in the store sells for $1, and it's the best dollar product out of all the dollar product that's available. And then the balance of the store, we have product that sells for $2 and $3. So you can expand what you carry, and that creates a little bit more margin. The $1+ product typically carries about a 50% gross margin as opposed to the 45% of the dollar only. Sure.
Hi, John. John, are you available? Can I ask you a question? This is Sharon Reddick. I just had a question for you.
Yes.
Is it possible if I can get an email from you just to show me a breakdown of how the $90,000 would be used, and also just the rates and the terms of the loan, just in a nutshell, kind of thing?
Okay. Well, the rates in terms of the loan, I can't do without knowing your credit profile. That we'd have to do through finance, and they can actually do that worksheet for you as well. Do you want to give me a call tomorrow? Or you know what, I'll call you tomorrow.
The phone number that you provided, the one that you provided?
Give me a call in the morning and I'll set that up for you.
Thank you. I appreciate that. You have a really good day. I'm gonna go ahead and get off now.
You as well. Thank you for your time.
Is that okay? I'm not gonna miss out on nothing, am I?
Well, if I do, I'll keep it a secret. No, I'll tell you tomorrow. I think we're pretty much there.
All right.
Thanks, Sharon.
Hello.
Yep.
Hello.
Bye-bye.
Yes.
Hello, John. Hello. Hello, John. How are you?
Hold on. There's a young lady that I think voiced first. Go ahead.
It's Suzette.
What can I do for you?
Yeah. Okay. I just wanted to find out if the product would be environmentally friendly, because that's a big thing here in Toronto. You know, people are into natural products.
There's some of it is, well, let me start by this. We don't sell, or our suppliers don't sell any product that is not approved for sale.
Okay.
Now, so that would be the first question. In other words, we don't buy anything from our suppliers that is not acceptable for sale. You know, I've read articles over the years where, you know, there's been products out of China, toothpaste that has chemicals in it and things like this.
Yeah.
No, they're very sensitive to that. And in terms of the plastic, same thing.
Okay. No, that answers my question. Thank you.
Very good. Yes, sir.
Hello, John.
Yes, go ahead.
So, a question. I know you were talking about the finance earlier, but if I decide to bring cash from my savings, how would that work?
Well, we normally don't take cash. No, I'm only kidding. No, that's perfectly fine, and that actually speeds up the process because you don't have to sit in finance while you're going through the funding. So all we would need in that instance is proof of funds, and we would move you right into real estate and start the site process.
Okay.
Yeah, we could be looking for locations in 2 days.
Oh, perfect. Okay. And I'm located in Atlanta, Georgia.
Okay.
So, I mean, what is it like out here, though? Is it like, is it a good thing to go in here?
Yeah, absolutely. Georgia, you know, Douglasville, Georgia, Atlanta, some of the surrounding areas, Stone Mountain, you know, it's a growing area, as you well know, and the business climate is very, very good. The landlords are excellent to work with. What was your name, sir?
Tony.
Tony, and your last name? Because I'd like to follow up with you.
Ehima, E-H-I-M-A.
E-H-I-M-A. Very good. I'll reach out to you tomorrow, and I know you may have other questions. I'll be happy to spend a little bit of time and go through them with you.
Okay. I think, yeah, like you said, it's 100,000, right?
Yes.
Okay, so that covers everything.
Yes. The package price plus incidental expenses that you may encounter.
Okay, sounds good.
Okay, Tony, what's a good
number? I look forward to. Say that again?
What's a good phone number for you?
678 559 4978.
4978. I will speak to you in the morning.
Okay. Thanks, Joe.
Great, Tony. Have a great evening. Thanks for your time again this evening.
All right.
Other questions?
Yes.
Yeah, John. This is Kenneth in Indianapolis again. I just got one more question here. Now, when you guys negotiate the lease terms, what if you get to the point where you're unable to negotiate a good term, to renew a lease with the landlord? How do you guys actually handle that? Is the owner responsible for the move, and you guys still find the new place and everything like before, or how does that actually work?
Okay, good question. Most often, if you're in a location and you're doing well and you want to renew, 9 times out of 10, the landlord is happy to do that with you, and they'll do a favorable lease because now you've got a history with them. You're a good tenant. You pay your rent on time. You run a nice store. It's a compliment to the center. So most often that's not even an issue. But sometimes, you may decide, well, now, I need a bigger store. There's not a bigger space in the center. So, yeah, absolutely, we will help you negotiate a new lease on a new space, 3-4 years down the road, whenever that might be. It's something that we always do. And if you need help in moving the store, any number of times we've done it at whatever our cost is, because it's really all labor. So, I work that out with you at the time. But, yeah, absolutely, we can do those things for you.
Awesome. Thanks, man. I appreciate that.
You bet.
John,
any other questions? Yes, sir.
Yes. I know you have different models starting with 1,000 square feet going up to whatever you want it to be. But on a realistic look at the situation with the 1, 2, 3 model that you have, if you want to have a fairly decent, profitable store, what are you looking as far as the size of the store goes? Do you have any numbers in mind?
It's a fair question. I would say over the years that I've been here, about 50% of the stores that we open are 1,000 to 1,500 square feet.
Sure.
And that's kind of driven by the fact that a lot of our owners are first-time business owners, so they want to, kind of get their toe into the water, see if the business is for them, and then they renew, they look for a bigger space, or Often we negotiate for right of first refusal for an adjacent space at the center. So if your neighbor moves out, you want to expand into that space, they have to offer it to you first. In fact, I'm doing one of those renegotiations right now. And the average store size over quite a few years, because I kind of track it all the time, is about 2,000 to 2,500 square feet. And I will say that all of our store footprints will work well in the right environment. So if you're looking to develop a 1,500 square foot store, 1,000 square feet store, we'll find a location where that store can be profitable for you. But to answer, I think what your real question is if I was going to do a store,
2,500.
I would say, if I had a sweet spot and I had no limitations. Go ahead. I'm sorry. If I had funding was not an issue, and I could do the store that I would like to do, I think for me 3,000 to 4,000 square feet. And again, that's not a necessity because all of our store footprints work well in the right location. We just have to find that location. But at 3,000 or so square feet, you can fully develop all the categories. You have no unproductive space. But again, the answer that I will always give, because it's the correct answer, is that every store size works in the right environment.
Right.
Does that help you at all?
But you think 2,000 square feet would be a fairly decent size to start with on a 1, 2, 3.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Now, as far as investment, what kind of investment do we need for that size of store and that kind of store?
Okay, 2,000 square foot 1, 2, 3 store is $123,900.
$123,900. Well, I thank you very much, John. I guess I got all my answers, and I will be in touch with you in the near future.
Very good. I look forward to it. And if you have other questions, just give me a call or send me an email. My email was, I think, on the email that came out with the invitation. Don't hesitate. And I'll get right back.
Definitely. I appreciate your time. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I know everybody has a busy life, so I appreciate the time you gave me.
Not a problem.
I have another question. Question.
Yes, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Okay. Are you able to help with preparing a business plan, which
yes,
I can use for finance?
Absolutely, we do it all the time. So, and there's no charge for that, of course. So, if you come on board and you decide, I need to look at some funding. Yeah, absolutely, I do. I'm working on 2 right now, so it's something that we do often.
Okay, thanks.
No worries. Any other questions?
Yeah, one last question, please.
Yes, sir.
This is Eric again from Dallas, Georgia.
Yes, sir.
Well, you were talking about we are going to be in a situation of 90,000 for the financing.
Yes, sir.
And this includes business license and right?
Yes, yeah, it includes estimates for all of those additional costs that you might encounter.
Okay, but how about somebody who is in the business already and who already have a business license with the state, with the county, and with IRS?
Yeah, then you just wouldn't have to spend that money. That would be great.
Say that again, please.
In other words, when I say you need $90,000 potentially to pursue a 1,000 square foot store, the only money you're ever going to pay to us is the $76,900. Those other funds that complete the 90, that extra 15,000 or 14,000, that's money that you keep. You just want to make sure that you have it in case you need it.
Okay.
Yeah, so that stays right there in your pocket. Because I know when you sign your lease, you're going to have to give the landlord a check for your security deposit for your store. So we want to make sure that you have funds available to you for that. You don't give them to us, you keep them. Same thing with your business license, working capital. That's all in that 14, 15,000, and that stays right with you.
All right, thank you.
You're welcome. Any other questions? Yes, what's your question? Hello?
Question here. What if I have 2 additional partners instead of 1? Is that a problem?
No, not at all. You know, and we often have partnerships that sometimes for financial reasons, sometimes for staffing reasons, you know, and sometimes it's a husband and wife or another family member or just a partner that people have, you know, associates that they've had over the years. So no limitations on that at all, and it happens very often.
What's the average time between the initial signing and you're able to open a store?
Okay, good question. Normally about 45 days from start to finish from when you start the initial project to when your store is ready to open. And there are a couple of things that can affect that. You know, if the space that you select needs a lot of work for the landlord to do for you to get it ready, it can be a little bit longer. But we usually look for spaces that are basically move-in ready or maybe just need paint and flooring or something like that. So it's a very quick process. And right now, like I say, landlords are highly motivated. So I would say 30 to 45 days is reasonable. The one thing I don't like to rush is I want to make sure in site location and leasing that we see everything that's available. And we can work very quickly, but I don't want to fall in love with the first space we see. It's like finding a husband or a wife. You want to make a good decision because you're going to be married to it for a while. So,
yeah.
No divorce. No, there's no divorce in leasing. You're married till death do you part. But that being said, you know, we work very quickly because I don't want to miss a good spot. And then the flip side of that is when we find a good location, we need you to work very quickly to get out there and look at the location, tell us what you think, what you like, what you don't like, so we know how to negotiate it.
Thank you very much.
Hey, John, I got a question.
Yes, sir.
This is Kenneth out of Indianapolis again. You say you've been in the business about 40 years. On the average, you know, with about 1,500 square feet, what do you think that could bring in as far as average on revenue?
You know, it's a tough question to answer that, knowing a lot about the location. You know, I'll give you kind of a rule of thumb. Dollar General, and their stores are a little bit bigger, but the sales per foot still translates. They did, I think they reported last year about $227 a square foot on average. And that's big stores, small stores, rural stores, urban stores, all that. And then there was a survey that was done. It's old now. It's like 8 or 9 years, and I haven't been able to find updated information. But there was a survey that was done, and they polled every type of store: chains, independents, dollar stores, 99-cent stores, the whole gamut, so to speak. And one of the questions was, what is your average sales per foot? And at that time, this is like 8 or 9 years ago, it was about $180 a square foot. So there's 2 guideposts. You know, I've seen stores do a great deal more. I've seen them do less. You know, if you're in a real rural area and your rent is very low, you don't need to do $180 a square foot. You can do $140 or $150 and make the same money or more. So, and as I said earlier, you may not have, I think you're on the call, but when we get to the final numbers on a potential location, you know, we've negotiated the lease, we know what the rent's going to be, and we know everything about that space. We know who the competitors are, where they're located, who the other tenants are in the center. Sometimes we can get the sales per foot of the center, but at that point, I can work with you, and we can come up with a pretty good picture of what that store can generate for you in terms of sales, and then we know the expense side because we know the rent, which is the big number. So we can kind of put a pretty good point on what that store is going to ultimately deliver to you. And we do that obviously when we sign the lease.
And that's the reason why I asked, because, you know, with all the other expenses, you know, you got to be able to, you know, make a profit to survive, you know. So you want to be in definitely a good spot with a good rate.
Yeah, we spent a lot of time with that. And, yeah, you don't want to go into business to break even. There's no winners there. So, yeah, we worked very hard to find that right location, and then we banged the heck out of the landlords, believe me. But I say right now, you know, they're knocking on our door, so to speak. I get emails every day from people that say they have spaces available. So, yeah, that it's a good time to be looking.
All right. Awesome.
All right. Well,
thanks, man. Appreciate it.
Thank you. When you're ready to go, just give us a call. I don't know who your rep is. It probably is in your email. But, yeah, or give me a call.
Yeah, Bruce. Yep. Bruce. We'll definitely be getting things in order. All right. And be reaching out. Excellent. All right. Thanks, man. You have a good one.
Let us know. You have a great evening. Thank you so much for your time.
All right. Thank you, John.
Thank you, Kenneth. Have a great evening. I want to thank everybody that's left on the call for your time. I very much appreciate it, and hopefully we'll be speaking in the near future.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Thank you.